Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 12 of the Shed End podcast. We are here dressed in all black in respect
to support the RBT.
RBTV.
we are paying our respects to the death of Perth Glory Football Club. We're all dressed in black today. But me and Will wearing our lovely Bay merch that you can get online by contacting the Bay Perth Instagram and Twitter accounts. Absolutely lovely stuff. These shirts are comfortable as hell.
We're just impartial, me and Josh.
Yes, absolutely.
Me too, guys. Please don't.
We have a lot to cover. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
Obviously, we had our big rant video after the loss to MacArthur, 6-1. Thank you guys for the support on that video. Now our most highly viewed video on the channel.
Yeah, it's got a lot of views and we got a lot of feedback from it. And one of the points was, can you try and have somewhat of a structure? Because obviously it was just us going off our nuts and all that. So we've listened.
Got a piece of paper, boys.
We've got a piece of paper.
We're
going to try and have somewhat of a structure, but we may as well hit the nail on the head to begin with.
In our defence, try. It's pretty hard to keep on track when you're.
Well, what can you do? You're ranting, but at the end of the day, at least it was good views. So we'll get
fucking giggling at.
So
that looks so odd, bro.
He's just leaning over. Oh. Well, all right, we'll get started.
Should we just restart?
No, we're not restarting.
No, we're not restarting. Fuck it. We're already balls deep. Okay, so Wellington 2, Perth Glory 0, round 2, HBF Park. There was a tifo that was done by both the Bay and the Shed. There were two separate tifos, but the one that got the most attention, at least on social media, was time for a response. That was the tifo that was done, and a very, very good tifo, must admit. And it was an important message because I think, the 6-1 loss, I think we were all, fucking...
I just thought it deserved a round of
You're the
applause.
type of guy that claps when the plane lands, honestly.
Stands up. Yeah. But just back to my point. I think there needed to be a response. We heard a variety of points made by lots of people. Stan Lazaridis did 2 interviews, both of which said we're going to win.
Yep.
We did not win, and fans... Well, fans have thrown the toys out of the pram, I think it's fair to say.
And rightly so.
In some cases, rightly so.
Yeah.
In some cases, rightly so. So we may as well start with the lineup, according to our script.
I will be completely honest here. I said this to Josh and to Will before the match. I honestly think we had a perfect line. For what Zrilic had, without Risdon, without Miliosnic, Pennington not full fitness, no Amini, no anything. No. I honestly think he started a pretty much perfect lineup.
No, I'd agree.
Well, I mean, what could you have changed?
You maybe could have made the case to say Quiet and Go to start over Ayama.
Yeah.
Just to have a bit more sort of directness in that attack.
Dude.
Yeah, but at the same time, you want your attack to be a bit more direct, especially when you're coming up against a back 5. I just feel like we were a bit too narrow.
And for me, real quick, this new Casado bloke, I heard he didn't get selected because he was the 19th man. Like, I do believe he's fit, but for some reason he's not getting selected. But Stan did say on the radio that he was supposed to be the next new big thing. He's going to put bums on seats. He was hyping him up like he was the next Mbappe. I wonder what's going on there.
I do think he wasn't just ready. And the one thing that points me to that is the fact that he played 2 games in pre-season for us, both against Newcastle on our tour down south. Played 30 minutes each game. If he was actually match fit, I'd expect him to play 45.
When he signed, 2 days after, 2 days before he signed, like they announced it, he played a full 90 minutes.
But he played minutes in September, but this was in the Colombian second tier, and then getting him to play the high intensity pressing system that David wants, I don't think he's ready, because even still. When we I felt that our 2 wingers that we had in Abdul Faisal and Hiroki Ayoma, I don't think that they have right now the understanding and also the physical capacity to execute the press the way David wants. I think there were too many times where we didn't read the cues well enough, and obviously you two boys support Liverpool and Man City, and you've seen obviously in the Premier League what a good press can do when it works. But there was a point that was made by our mate Petr Petrov leading into the game, and he said if Glory don't get their timing of their press right, which was a big problem against MacArthur, then we're going to get fucked. And for me, I think Abdul on his side in particular, because Wellington were going down that side in particular, was a little bit too over-eager with his press. He would step out quite well, but he'd sort of run in at times like a brainless chicken and would get beaten too easily. And then because Wellington are just so good on the ball and they've got really good players in those positions, they found it too easy and they went down Hamzawi's side and often created an overload. So the press was set up to fail because of the selections, but then again, what else does David have?
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
I mean, if you look at the difference between Wellington and us, I'm not having a dig at any of the players, but you look at our front four. We've got Faisal, Ayoma, Taggart, and Bagaria.
Yep.
And then you compare it to Wellington's front four of
Nakas.
The Japanese lad.
the two
well,
Japanese
I do wanna say
got
that.
fellas.
Yeah.
Barbarouses.
Yeah,
and
Costa ripped hands
another
out.
guy. But anyway, what I'm trying to... My point is that there's a lot more overall quality there. Like, they're just overall just way better.
And then how do you have, all
And
that,
more
and then
experience.
Kolakowski off the bench? Because why not? Let's just bring on Kolakowski, because that's how much talent they have, which is good for them.
Yeah.
But just the overall talent difference is very much obvious. But I completely agree. Like, I think it was the best lineup we had available, which is good from Zrilic that he's picked the best lineup we had, but also is just a testament to where we are right now in terms of how much depth we really have and how much quality we actually have in that depth. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I know I'm going to get stick for this, but I'll get it out of the way now. I honestly think our best performer that game was probably Doggy Carluccio. I'll put that out there.
Oh,
And
he did.
Look, there weren't a lot of
but that he gives it 110%.
Yeah.
That's standard from Doggy.
I
Great
think
work rate.
once again, heaps of problems with that midfield, man. I don't know what it was. We put Bagaria in there, and look, James,
He deserved the start.
He deserved the start.
Yes.
You did make the point to me, James, during the game. He was a bit quiet. I do want to not put that down to him, though. I want to put that more down to the fact that Wellington was sitting really, really narrow in midfield. They were boxing us in a lot.
Well, I know exactly what it is. We've recruited 4 holding midfielders.
yeah.
No, it's not that.
No, but it doesn't work. You need a quality 10, quality 8, and a quality 6.
Yeah.
Yes, Pennington's like a quality 8, and Brandon O'Neill's a quality 6.
Yeah.
But we don't have a 10.
But-
because literally we're just passing it sideways and backwards. There was nothing going forward.
I'm more concerned with the fact that even if we did have a quality 10, it would have done fuck all that game. And for the simple reason of our build-up play, there was absolutely nothing that we even attempted to go through the middle with that.
There we
it was
go.
either the long ball to Taggart,
There we go.
or it was giving it to Faisal on the left-hand side and letting him run.
Yeah.
And to be fair to Faisal,
He gave it a red hot crack.
I've seen a lot of people giving him shit for last night's performance. I want to big him up for the fact that he actually took on his man. He actually tried.
Yeah.
He won 4 corners. 2 of them were out of absolutely nothing, just off of his press when they were deep.
Yep.
Yeah.
My only thing is, obviously we've talked about it already, the timing of that press. And that's just going to come with experience.
Yeah,
so I
well.
do hope that we get to keep him after this year, because I do think he's going to get better. In
Yeah.
terms of his attacking, good. It was fine. I'm more concerned with the fact that our actual build-up play, in terms of playing through Bulgaria, was not good enough. And that simply just comes down to the fact of, okay, we have the ball, we don't really know what to do with it. We sat really narrow on attack.
Yeah.
You know, and we made a point of this last night about how when we were in possession, Hamzawi would sort of sit back more.
He
Yeah.
created a back three almost.
Create
Yeah,
a back three, and
and
Carluccio would
Doggy would
sort
push
of
up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
push out. But we never really actually made use of that width when we had it.
No.
We'd make use of the width in that we'd give it to Doggy Carluccio, but then it immediately goes back inside. Goes back to Faisal, who's hanging out on the wing back on the other side, but then goes straight back
Well, I think
inside.
that-
There's no
that's what
overloads,
happens
there's no
when-
overlaps or anything.
I think it's you're forgetting that he's 18.
We're not forgetting that. We accept
he's
that.
not. It's too much to ask him to start.
But it's the same. It's not a problem really. But it's the same set of circumstances that we had with Daniel Benny last season, where we're expecting a young fella to put on quite a fair bit of the creative burden. But I want to make a point about the midfield. I think we can probably say that individually, Brandon O'Neill and Taras Gamulka are decent passers of the ball on their day.
Yeah.
But I can't
They're
recall.
not creative enough.
No, it's not about being creative. This is even a problem with our back 2 centre backs as well. this is obviously it's a skill that you see a lot in the Premier League and the Champions League and those really big competitions, but we've also seen this at times with some of the really good A-League sides. We can't play, and this is a bit of a nerdy term, we can't play progressive passes through the thirds.
No.
You look at Wellington, and when Wellington did that a couple of times, because when Glory was sort of passively sitting in a block, there was a couple of times in the first half where Rufer just got the ball and said, fuck it, because they want us obviously to come out wide, and then a couple of times he did play some really nice passes through the middle. And I'm like, well, what was our plan then? I mean, we're positioning as though we want to play through the middle, but it's like we either didn't have the confidence to do so or we simply couldn't execute to do that. So I'm like, well, why the fuck is that the case when surely O'Neill and Gomulka as midfielders individually are capable, I believe, of playing those passes? It just doesn't make sense for me.
I don't know if that's sort of a problem with our structure or what we're going with. Look, the idea of the press, I like. I agree with a lot of people in what they say with Zrilic's style requires a lot of very physically capable players, a lot of very experienced players to know when to initiate the press, to know when to sort of initiate in what areas. I don't think we have the experience that we need. And that's not me knocking, Faisal, Ngo, those kinds of players. It's more me saying this could have been a lot if we got the recruitment right. And I don't want to make judgments yet and say that Faisal's not the right recruitment. I don't want to make that yet.
I just don't think we have the right cattle for this.
It's hard to imagine that playing this sort of complicated pressing style that we have the right players for. But here's the thing though. I've seen other young players around the A-League, especially this season already, be able to play that sort of high-octane, high-press football. You look at Auckland and the way they're playing. Rogerson and Gillian were phenomenal today against Sydney. In terms of their pressing. They were pressing high, getting up, but they initiated that press so much better than we were initiating ours. And it just... I'm not coming out saying Zrilic is a bad coach. I don't think he's a bad coach. You don't get where you are in terms of the career he's had so far and the places he's been by being a shit coach.
But the better question is, and this is one of the points that we made, do we have, and this is a question for across the table, do we have the cattle to play the way David wants?
Absolutely not.
Alex, do you think we have the cattle? Obviously, not everyone's fully fit. We accept that, but...
So just let him finish his juice box.
Yeah. I need my emotional support, apple juice, bro.
Yeah.
Look, I don't want to come out and flatly say no, because I do see glimpses of what we're trying to do. It's just...
What do the trends suggest?
The trends suggest that we don't. But here's the thing, is that I don't trust what people on Twitter say.
Fair enough.
I don't like to listen to people on Twitter. I don't like to fucking, bullshit about this and that. Look, have the first two games been great? No. Have they been rather shit? Yes.
Yeah.
But I saw forward steps in that Wellington game. Now, was it what we wanted? No, because obviously we wanted to dominate the game, we wanted to win, we wanted to have a much better performance. When you look at statistically, we weren't far off, but I don't want to get into that thing of looking at statistics, because as someone who was there at the game, I think we can all agree that we were well off the pace, right? We did have some good opportunities towards that second half. Yeah, we did.
Just wait, but hold on.
Pennington's chance, Carluccio had a good shot that nearly went in.
But Alex,
Taggart had a good
Alex, we have 60. We had something like 60% of the ball. We had 52. No, in the second half. I'm talking about the second half.
Yeah.
Where we looked probably a bit more better on the ball anyway, because Wellington dropped off. But we had two good goal scorers on the pitch in Williams and Taggart.
Yep.
And we had a midfield of Gomulka, O'Neill, and Pennington, which is, I'm pretty sure, what our ideal midfield is when it's all fit. Yet, despite the 60% roughly possession that we had 5 shots, 0 on target, 0 big chances created, and importantly, an XG in open play of 0.17.
Yep.
So for those that aren't necessarily aware of what XG from open play means, it's like, well, on a very simplified and basic term, our midfielders and our attackers were nowhere near effective enough when it came to creating good chances. And David said, well, we did create chances, but I don't think... This has been a problem since round 1. We haven't created high-value chances.
Yep.
And that's the thing. I think there are areas defensively, surprisingly, where we're actually ranking quite highly in the league, like our press, for example. We're number 1 in the league for possession 1 in the final third. Yet, when we have the ball, because you guys were obviously at the game, I was fortunately down south and watching it on a crappy stream, but in the first half in particular, there were times where the first part of the press where we would cause a turnover, we'd do that really well, but then what? Whenever there was a 50-50 contest or the ball deflected somewhere, we couldn't take ownership of the ball. But even if we did, we then couldn't be ruthless. We couldn't transition. And again, I don't want to have a go at the players, but it's like at the end of the day, we rely on these guys to have some level of output.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm a bit too impatient and I want to see something soon, but it's like, particularly from someone like Ayoma, who is an experienced lad in terms of his time in the NPL in New South Wales, I don't think for someone with his experience imposed himself enough on the game.
No.
I don't think he got involved enough with the likes of Bulgaria and Faisal, and I just think that our attacking dynamics made it really easy for Wellington to defend. You can say, oh, Wellington parked the bus, but at the same time, we had no threat when we had the ball.
I just don't think that... Look, here's the thing. I know we see what style of play Zrilic wants to play. He wants to play the 4-2-3-1. He wants to initiate a high press, the turnover, quick play, goals. I don't think we have the players to play that specific system. I would honestly love to see us try out a two-striker formation, even like a 4-2-2-2 of sorts. You can keep your double pivots, you can keep your wide wingers, but you just stick two strikers up top, whether that be Taggart Blair, whether that be Taggart Williams. I'd love to see something like that attempted. If you don't want to attempt it, fair enough. But in terms of do we have the players right now to play that kind of system that he wants us to play? No, not currently. I think by the end of the season, if we give Faisal a few more weeks, he might get into that. Or if Ingo maybe performs a bit better, he might get into that. Maybe Miljusnic will be a good fit for it. Maybe Caicedo will be a really good fit for it. I don't want to make judgments on do we have the right cattle when we're missing half the squad.
I really want to see what's going to happen when we've got Caicedo and Millet up front, because I think the speed will definitely be very beneficial.
It will be much better for initiating the press. Look, with all due respect to Ayama, he didn't look quick. He really didn't look quick on the jump. And I've seen this guy play MP. I've seen some clips of him. I've gone back and watched something, and we remember the Armidale game as well. He looked fairly rapid on the ball.
Yeah.
Off the ball, he's quite slow to initiate.
Yeah. Doesn't have the stamina to play that or to do those high sprints at a repeated level like David would want. But I want to get your thoughts, man. What are your thoughts on our system?
Look.
Look, I'll be honest, just to get this out the way, I went home angry last night.
Oh no.
Shit.
I'm very patient with this club. I have been my entire life for as long as I've been watching them. I've never ever left a game early or wanted to leave a game early. Last night I was very close. I was sitting with Josh. We were fucking awful. And I'm saying it, and I'm saying this now, that might be one of the worst home games I've ever attended. I'm talking about during the salary cap scandal when we were down 3-0 at half-time against Sydney.
I remember that.
You know, those kinds of games. I've been to all those.
Yep.
Last night was a disgrace.
Yeah.
We got the ball, and what do we do with it? Let's turn around and pass it backwards. How's that?
Or hoof it long to Adam to try and do something when he's got 4 defenders on him.
I was seething. We've got all these promises that have been made to us, all these pushes about what we're going to be and how we're going to be as a club. We have no identity.
We looked more competent under Stad.
Absolutely.
Just quickly, that's a point that I want to make. It's scary that, again, small sample size, so you can't make a definitive claim, but we looked far more competitive under Alan Stajic when we had no owners and we had barely any players available than what we do right now. Then we've had a complete reset. We have owners and we've got a squad of 30 players.
I don't know what we're doing. That's the worst part, right? When we had Sage as our owner, when things were going wrong, you would damn well know about it, because whether he's right or wrong about it, he would tell you that he's not happy.
Yep.
You get a passionate response and he would try and fix it.
Yep. All
we've gotten so far is very PR trained responses of maybe we'll get him next week. No, that's not what happens here.
Well, the problem was Stan, and no, I'm sorry, man. I've got this has to be called out because it's not professional. Coming out after a 6-1 loss and repeatedly saying we will win, we will win, we will win. I don't know any director of football in the A-League that does it. I don't know any director of football in Asia or Europe that makes some of the comments. And I mean, I understand, and this is a message to you, I understand that you're enthusiastic and passionate about the club, and I'm sure you do care, but your comments are unprofessional. And essentially,
if you said, we're going to throw everything at it and we're going to give it our best shot.
Yes.
That's fine.
Yep.
But he's losing credibility, because that on top of the WOW signing gimmick, where it was... We've signed WOW signings, and then the comparisons to players like Salah, Stoichkov, Lizarazu, it doesn't do those players who you've made those comments to. A lot of them are young players as well, and it just puts too much of a burden on them to perform.
And the Casado really bothered me.
Well, it's
the fact that he hyped it up so much.
That's
it was a marquee
and that's a problem, because now people, when they go to the games, and let's say they didn't watch pre-season, but they've been told Abdul Faisal, who is an extremely talented player and has a really high ceiling as far as I'm concerned, is the next Mo Salah. You are putting a huge level of burden and expectation on him. And we're sort of hiding behind this facade of, we want long-term growth, but at the same time, we're going to win on the weekend. It just, that disconnect, I don't really understand that so far.
It feels like, just so far, and I will gladly change my opinion halfway through the season if it gets better, this feels like a sick joke. It really feels like that we've got these new people coming in to try and help out the club who have said all these wonderful things about how, and you won't recognise the club in 12 months' time.
The envy of the A-League.
I'm envying.
We won't recognise the club in 12 months.
I don't recognise it now.
We'll have a new badge. We'll have a new name, a new location.
I don't recognise this club because there's no. I don't feel it from the players. I feel Taggart wants to try. I see Doggy out there giving all he's got. Everyone else, they don't look like they want to be there. I feel bad for Ollie, because I watch him off the ball and how frustrated he looks to be getting, because every time we got the ball, somehow he'd end up with it.
One thing that repeatedly does my fucking head in is the amount of shit I see people talking on Ollie Sale. That goes for the Bay, that goes for the Shed, that goes for people on Twitter, that goes for people on fucking Facebook,
it's
Instagram, whatever.
Simplistic.
If you honestly watched any of our 2 games and thought that Ollie Sale was at fault, give me one goal he was at fault for. Give me one thing he was at fault for. Because guess what? You're not going to be able to give me a single thing. Why? Because you have a fucking agenda. You sit there and you look at the end of the game the end of the game score, and you think, oh, well, we conceded 6 goals, it'd be so shit, right? No, you fucking idiots. But it's because we concede stupid chances from stupid areas. We have no fucking pace. We have no thinking. We have no nothing. We're putting this guy under the fucking pump the entire game. Of course we're going to fucking concede goals. We give him no fucking help half the time. So don't fucking sit there in your whatever the fuck and tell me, oh, so shit, we got to get rid of it. I'll put Cammy Cook in goal. What the fuck better did we get out of Cammy Cook? What the fuck better did we get out of Liam Reddy? Fucking no player on earth. Give me prime Gigi Buffon and we still fucking lose that game to MacArthur. It's not on Ollie Sale. It's on this fucking
another point. No. But just wait. Another point as well about Sale. I don't think a lot of people know this, but Sale in the first game was really helpful to Zach Gzalowski, Labib, and Kanga from memory, because they're obviously getting their first opportunity to start, and he was being really supportive of them whenever they made a good challenge, and he was showing some good communication and leadership skills, and that's something that we identified in pre-season. When we went to some of the earlier pre-season games under Stadge, one of the first things you could notice was that Ollie Sale was extremely vocal. You could hear him organising the back four, being really clear with his directions. But this is the thing. You can't blame Ollie Sale for the goals that we concede, because when you have too many shots that you're allowing your opposition, regardless of their quality, to take, the damn wall is going to break. And we'll put up a clip, obviously, when this gets edited, but Daniel McBreen shared vision of the second goal. We'll also talk about the first goal as well, but the second goal. And he was highlighting that there were 3 players around, I forgot who was on the ball, but he had the run down the left-hand side, and then Tim Payne, I'm pretty sure, was
Tim Payne at the back,
steaming through at the back post, and then Hamzawi. I remember when I saw it on the live stream that I was watching, I was like, what the fuck is that defense? That's pub team football. That's pub team
Marking
football.
Casper. Like, he's just running around looking for someone, and someone right behind him.
And McBreen, on the caption, he did like question marks. And I'm like, you're used to it at this point, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah, look, just to actually answer your question, though, because I know what I gave you wasn't actually a response. It was more just me saying how bad it was.
That's right.
The system that we have and what we're trying to do, I really like it. I think Zrilla's a fantastic coach. I like the whole Red Bull background of what he's trying to push. I really like it. But so far, it just feels like he's not been given the tools that he needs to actually have a success. Use the tactics he wants to use. I rate him as a coach. I like what he's done in the past. He's just not got the assets and what I think he's been told he's going to be given. He hasn't got that yet. So how are we supposed to get results when he's not got what he's thought he's going to have? So,
I understand the whole thing of, like, you know, tight budget for the club, whatever, but it's like fucking hell. It's just
obviously our
just
team is cheap, but like even still something else must be wrong, because I don't think it's bad enough to to do as bad as we've done.
Here's the thing, though. We've seen in plenty of cases that there's A-League teams that can have young players and do really well with them.
Yep.
I honestly think it's this, and it's going to sound really weird. David Zrilic is too good of a coach to play well with a shit team. You know what I mean? He's too good of a coach to be able to... And I call this the Pep Guardiola philosophy, right?
Right.
Because, listen, hear me out here. How many times have you heard people say Pep Guardiola would never be able to do well with a League 2 team, with a League 1 team, with a whatever team?
Yeah.
No fucking shit. Yeah. Because he's a world-class coach. So a world-class coach needs world-class players, world-class, talent to be able to fit the world-class system they play.
Just quickly, your theory would make sense as well because Sydney FC, when they implemented David's system, they got it pretty quickly and they had some young players in their team as well.
Exactly. But when you put Pep Guardiola at fucking Harrogate Town,
Pep wouldn't even do well with us.
He wouldn't do well with us. And it's not because Pep is a shit coach. No. The amount of people I hear say, to be a really good coach, you got to be able to do well with a shit team. No. To be a mediocre coach, you have to be able to at least do well with a shit team. To be a great coach, you have to do well with a great team.
Yeah.
Doing good with a shit team doesn't make you a good coach. It makes you able to get the best out of your mediocre players.
Yeah.
All right? So for people to sit back and say, David Zrilic, and I've seen plenty of this. People say, Zrilic out, Zrilic out. Who the
That's
fuck
been
is
the
Zrilic
biggest
out?
surprise for me.
Dude.
Is fucking insane.
I don't get it.
If you are honestly putting any of this on David Zrilic, look, I understand that people are like, what are we trying to do? What are we trying to do? It's very obvious what we're trying to do when you watch the game and don't just watch your 3-minute fucking A-League highlights on YouTube, all right? Yeah. Or on Facebook or whatever the fuck, all right? Watch the game and you'll see what we're trying to do. He doesn't have... Look, we can go on about he doesn't have the cattle for it.
Yeah.
And look, the reason that teams like a Western United are able to do better with half of a youth team...
Or even Mariners with no money.
...is because John Aloisi, for example, plays an incredibly simple style of football.
Yes.
That's why he would never be able to do good at a Western Sydney or a Sydney FC or a Melbourne Victory because it is so painfully simple that it will be simple wherever you go. It won't ever get better.
This system is highly detailed.
Exactly.
Yeah, a lot of detail behind it.
Zrilic is playing such an intricate, complicated system. No wonder it's not working because we don't have the cattle to play the system. And I'm not going to put it on Zrilic. No. Right? I'm not going to put it on the players because it's not their fault that they can't fit into a system. If we want to put it on Ross, we can put it on...
Just wait.
Let me finish my point, James.
Yeah, but I just want to butt in before you finish. Only because if you are going to criticise Zrilic, the only point that's valid is perhaps a lack of pragmatism. Okay. Because when you see the squad that we have and you go, can it play the way that I want? I can still have principles that are non-negotiable regardless of the talent.
Yep.
But I think our actual execution, given the players that we have, we tried the same front line that we had against MacArthur that, no offense, was ineffective and was also proven to be ineffective both in and out of possession in this game as well. So that's why I go, well, maybe there should have been either a different approach or different personnel utilised. You can still keep the principle.
No, I agree.
But maybe a sense of pragmatism could help.
I feel like Ayayama would not have started this game if either Caicedo or Milivojevic was fit.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, just real quick. Let's say it's January, right?
Yeah.
You have 3 signings to make. Ross has opened the checkbook a little bit.
Somehow.
Like, Stan, you can make 3 signings to dramatically improve the squad. What areas do you think?
How realistic are we keeping?
Just say possession. Position. Sorry, position.
3 positions that you think.
He's got possession on the brain.
Give me a proper 10 for one.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing: is that I can't even maybe you could say, give me a better left back, but I want to see how Hamzawi progresses with this system here. I don't want to make judgments on let's sign this player in January because we haven't even fucking seen these. No. We went from saying last game against MacArthur, we've got the worst centre back pairing in the league, to last night for a large portion of the game. We were looking at Barr and Kanga being like, you know what, they're actually doing quite well, and I'll say that the centre back pairing did quite well.
And when Risdon's back, that should have been...
Look, the first goal set-piece defending was shit, all right?
Should one of the centre-backs been not in the wall, but in that clump of
that
players?
Little pocket.
Should the centre-backs have been, one of them been there? Maybe Kanga, for example.
Okay, but then again, that's not down to the centre-backs. That's down to the set-piece coaching.
But David's background is set-piece coaching as an assistant.
Well, then you can say, well, hey, Dave...
That's a valid criticism.
Michael, one thing that pissed me off is I saw people saying, Oliseo, what's Oliseo doing for the fucking... What? Like, bro, it's on the edge of the fucking 18 and you want him to come out and stop a cross. Are you fucking kidding me?
Can't.
Like,
you go. Oh, and I was just going to say, you've got players that are in Kungar and Bar
Yep.
who would have stopped that cross.
Yep.
Because, again, I don't think the guy was taking a shot. He was clearly going to chip it in. But even still, why did we not have the foresight to go, okay, only one centre-back should be
correct
in the thing?
I just think it's too close. It's from like the 20-yard. It's prime position for a free kick over the wall, man. You got to have your tall guys, and so I won't put too much blame on it. But like in hindsight, I think it's easy to say, oh well, we obviously should have put a centre back in that position.
Yeah,
But
of course.
in that scenario, if I was a goalkeeper and I wanted to set my wall, I want my tall guys in the wall if it's 20 yards out.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
Absolutely. And look, that may be different thinking to what Ollie wants, but that's just my thought.
I think if you want to go through the whole January window, sign 3 players, I've got a bit of a weird one.
Go on.
If you're not going to play Zach at centre back and you're going to put him at left back, if Hamzawi's not working out, we need a better on the ball centre back to go with replace Lockie Bar. Bar's really good as a defender, I think.
Yep.
But when he gets possession of the ball, I get nervous. Because there was a couple of times last night where he would get possession and he'd have to turn around and go back to Ollie because he didn't know how to play the pass forward.
Or there were no
he'd try.
options.
Kanga looked better on ball than Bar.
Oh, he did. 100%.
But that's
looked
that's
really
what we
good.
thought with the highlights that we saw of Kunga when he was with Orcus in Ecuador.
He actually looked really good.
He was relatively decent on the ball, and he's got good
100%.
power behind
So
it.
I'm signing a centre back next to Kunga.
In
If Lizzo doesn't get put back.
ideal world, you want a left-footed centre back that can come in and fit this system. I'm pulling out the checkbook and saying,
number
Alex
10.
Grant, come on home.
A number 10, yeah.
A number 10,
And then a left winger and Faisal can come on for 30 minutes.
That should have been Faisal's role. He should not have been put in
I
under
agree.
any pressure. Same with Lizalowski, same with Bulgaria, same with Blair, same with the young guys that we've got. It's unfair for them to have been put in the position where they've had to carry the burden of either being defensively really good or offensively carrying our attack.
Yeah.
I'm going to go totally off the rails with this one, and Alex doesn't like this, but I would suggest signing another centre back so that we can play with the back five. I know you hate it. But
No,
hear me out.
I understand.
Hear me out. Glory over the last few years, one of their biggest problems has been stopping shots. Full stop.
Yep.
Doesn't matter what part of the pitch that it's on, we can't stop shots. And the second goal validated that we probably needed another centre-back in the box to deal with the cross that was made, because if our midfielders and our wingers aren't going to track back effectively enough, I believe we don't have right now, and even if we do have all our players fit, a back four that can play by themselves and be trusted to deal with one-on-one situations in high-pressure moments. Realistically, in my opinion, we should be looking to play a back five, and then whether we play with a 5-3-2 or a 3-4-3, because we're already seeing evidence of a back three when we have possession.
Yes.
So it wouldn't be too much of a jump if we change. But I think, again, if we, on the point of David not being possibly as pragmatic as maybe we would have liked, changing to a back five so that we can form a solid foundation to then try and build our attack.
Where do you play Risdon? Do you play him right centre back in the back three? Or do you play him right wing?
No, I still play him right wing back, but I would give him a more reduced role and then say to Hamzawi, look, you're much better on the ball than you are defensively.
I agree with that.
Go higher.
Big time.
And then what you can do is when you lose the ball on our rest defence, you've got three really good centre-backs. You've got Risdon in a slightly deeper position.
Yep.
And then whoever your 2 or 3 midfielders are, that can deal with the transition and we can press. I don't feel we have the right balance and personnel at this moment in time, again, to go back to one of our earlier points, for David to play the way that he wants to. Now, he can disagree, but I think it's something that shouldn't be necessarily said no to if the thought of a back five comes up.
Okay. Yeah.
Fair enough.
I mean, I do completely agree with you, but I really hope we come back in like 4 or 5 weeks from now. And
I hope I'm
we've
looking
gone
for
like,
an
oh,
idiot.
look, Milos and Caicedo are really good. We can have a better attack.
I hope so.
Yeah, I really hope, but I don't know.
James, remember
Milos
5 weeks ago when you
fully
said back?
Yeah, when Milos was
fucking
fit.
guy.
Do we know an estimate for when Millie's back? Because obviously he tried to come back and then he picked up a knock on the weekend.
I've not heard anything
I
about it.
seriously doubt it.
Yeah.
Like, genuinely, I don't have any joy in us. Like, this doesn't give me any joy. This
have
makes me
no
very-
joy.
Very sad.
It is
I know.
gone.
There's nothing.
I know we get views on the podcast, but genuinely, this makes me very I was very quite upset last night and last week after that thrashing.
He was
just
livid.
because of the of how excited I was for this season and how much hype there was around it. And by 2 rounds, I know that our finals hope is pretty much over.
Yeah. Well, this is one of the points that we've got down, and I had a discussion with one fan today, and he's a good bloke. But the question is, are fans justified and in ways validated for volleying the toys out of the pram after round 2?
Yes.
Is it justified for fans to be pretty concerned and pretty pissed off and not necessarily writing the season off like some people are,
I think
being
it's
quite
justified,
concerned?
yeah.
You think it's justified?
Absolutely, because multiple reasons. Look, again, like I said earlier, I'm very, very patient with this club. I always have been, but it comes to a point where even the most patient of fans who will attend as many games as they can get to a point where it's like, what's the point, right?
Yeah.
You go back the last few seasons we've had nowhere near any like chance of making finals. Maybe for a few weeks, like maybe, and then that gets turned away. Back to back wooden spoons, and looks like it's on this pace. We'll go for a 3-peat. That's fun.
Yep.
I think to say or to have a concept that this is a fresh start, so we shouldn't look at those past 2 seasons because under different management and different ownership is wrong, because regardless of who was in charge or who owned the club at that point, it still happened. You know, and you've still got fans buying memberships, watching the game.
7,000 at the game as well.
7,000 at the game. And on top of this, you have your spokesperson who does all the stuff about the club promising you a win. And you get absolutely shut on. Not even a shot on target in the second half, let alone any chances that you thought you might be able to score.
Yeah.
You put up a performance like that after promising a win, and then going through the last 2 seasons that we've had.
Yeah.
Only picking up, how many wins was it last season at home?
At 4.
Yeah. I'm surprised that we haven't had more spitting the dummy and throwing things out.
We're winless since February. We've gone 12 games in a row in the league without a win.
Yep.
We haven't won away from home since January, and I think there was a lot. I think there were a lot of fans that I think this game, following the bullshit rumor about Adam Taggart leaving, which is I can categorically confirm
Nicholas Lennon.
News.
Nicholas Lennon. No. Fuck you. You are the most dog shit journalist this league has ever had the disgrace of having. You got the Arnold rumor wrong. Hold that shit. You got the Taggart rumor fed to you by a fucking account on Reddit. Hold that shit.
Yeah,
Your career is done, buddy. Over.
So
you're finished!
Just wait. Taggart, I can confirm from a fairly reliable source.
Yes.
He has no intention of leaving at this moment in time.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tags.
Which is really good news. But there's a problem.
Yes.
There is a problem.
Big problem.
I think we saw, like I was alluding to, before this game, when his picture was shown on the Glory socials, there's a bit of a problem that I think quite a few fans are having with our owner, Ross Pelligra. And I think it's about time that we have this discussion.
Tell me more, James.
Because, I don't. No, but I'm gonna call Ross out. I'm gonna call Ross out.
Yep.
Because I think you could say, is it too premature to make this sort of call after round 2? No, Ross bought the club in February.
Yep.
Right. Okay. So fundamentally, and we sort of had this discussion on the episode that didn't get aired because the volume and the quality were just dog shit.
Yes.
But fundamentally, Ross bought the club for $1, but with the guarantee of up to $4 million in investment either per season or per year.
Well, hang on. He did have to pay like $7 million debt, so he bought the club.
We don't know, but he has to clear the debt. That's something that's been taken on through him buying the club.
So
but for $1,
no, but he bought the club for the debt.
He did.
Well, he hasn't wiped off the debt yet.
I know, but $1 is a technical term.
Right, $1 is the technical term, but the point is, it was
he
with
bought
the
the club for still cheap.
Yeah, so the guarantee was that he would be investing millions into the club every season, right? Now, not all the fans know this, but okay, Ross was seen for the game against Wellington.
Yep.
That was the first time he's been seen, I'm pretty sure, since the Western United game. He wasn't present at the MGP Awards night. And he wasn't present for the season launch that occurred a couple of weeks ago down at Fraser's.
Correct.
So
the last time he was seen was at a training session.
Which
pre-season.
and that was it. It's sporadic. So I do question the level of investment.
Yep.
Because we have a coach that even Ross himself said was a massive coup for us to get David Zulich because of the interest that he would have had. We've spoken now about does he have the cattle? Does David have the cattle? And we've pretty much all said no, he doesn't really have it. So that comes down to, did the owner put in enough to invest in the team, or has he just simply gone, no, well, let's try and run it on minimal costs? Because all we've seen, I did an article on this, and he might disagree, he's more than welcome to, but it was basically all we've seen is evidence of cost cutting.
Yep.
In the sense of the sacking of long-term staff and in the scaling back of the academy. Wellington, not sure if all you guys know this, you might do, but they rocked up to their game for yesterday, I think on Monday or Tuesday.
Yep.
We rocked up, allegedly, to our game against MacArthur on Saturday night.
Yes.
And we had the game on Sunday afternoon. I'm happy to have that clarified or corrected by the club, but that's what is the rumour mill that's been floating about. So I just asked Ross, one of the things that he said when he bought the club is he said, we want to listen. We want to hear the fans.
Yep.
I'm not aware of many conversations where Ross has had with a number of fans where he said, what are your concerns? What do you want to see with the club? How can we make it better?
He did sack the catering company for giving Josh a birthday.
Again, okay, so that's one improvement, right?
I completely agree with you. And the thing is, for me, and I'm sure probably all of you guys and basically every other fan, is I'm actually okay with, as a club, going through a transition period where, we might not make finals this year, it might be pretty bad, and then maybe we can build over the next few years. But communicate that. Don't lie to us and don't say things like,
we're
going to
win. As long
win.
as I see improvement, but I haven't seen that. I've seen us go backwards.
Just be honest
Even
about
I
it.
said at the start of the season before we started, well, in the preseason episodes, I said, I'm fine if we have a young squad with a young coach and an identity that we're going to build on. If we have a shit season this season, I can deal with that. What I think most fans are disappointed with, and what I'm disappointed with, is the fact that people, and look, there are heaps of people that are at fault for this. Whether it's Ross, whether it's Stan, whether it's Taggart coming out and saying that we need to be getting top 6 minimum, all right?
Yeah.
Don't fucking say that.
Yeah.
Just don't. Look, I understand you want to big it up and give people a reason to come to the games, but just tell us, look, we're going to give it our all. We're going to go out there. We're going to try and play some of the most beautiful football that you've ever seen at this club. And if it doesn't happen, we know that you at least tried. Don't come and say, we guarantee you top 6. We guarantee you wins. We guarantee you improve. Because you can't guarantee it.
Yeah.
Football is a game of no guarantees. So don't guarantee us anything.
Yeah.
You can't even guarantee me that Lightning's not going to strike and fucking rip a hole in the middle of HBF Park. Because you just never know.
The better point is, if you're going to go with a young team or a team that hasn't really got the level of investment that, let's say, the Wanderers or Auckland had, how long are you going to get fans to wait? Because fans have been waiting since Popper left for us to play in the finals and to play a good brand of football and win consistently and have good performances. I'm going to butcher his last. I'm going to try and remember it as best as I can. Gary Marocci, the inaugural Glory NSL coach, was on Peter Vlahos's radio show a couple of days ago or leading into the game. And one of the points that he made was he was, number one, disappointed with the recruitment. Said that we should have gone for 2 quality, and he specifically said not NPL, but quality players to give more support for Taggart.
Correct.
He also said fans don't want to see losers. And fans want to see quality on the park. Right now, are Glory fans under this owner incentivized to go to the games?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
What's the reason to ask fans that have been supporting the club for longer than we've been alive to continue to go to the games? What incentive is there for young fans to want to go to the games? There is no incentive when the on-field product is not lining up to what the big bosses are saying. Whether it be Ross saying we want to be the envy of the A-League, you're going to see a totally different club in 12 months' time. Promising all these big things, and then Stan, separate issue altogether. And then when we see our coach, who really wants to do well, but you can see in his face that he doesn't probably have the elite level of players that he had at Sydney FC to play the way that he wants to. And then you've got, we want to make the finals. We want to win every game. We want to have long-term success. I don't know if we're going to get that with this ownership based on the evidence that we've seen 100%. Since February 16th, when it was made official by Quartermentha that not just Ross Pelligra, but the Pelligra group bought Perth Glory, which also involves Vince Grella and Mark Bresciano. And I wouldn't mind knowing, given those guys are associated with the Pelligra group, I wouldn't mind hearing their thoughts, including Vince. Because Vince is a director of the club. I wouldn't mind knowing his thoughts about our start to the season. I wouldn't mind knowing Pelligra's thoughts to the start of the season. What do you guys think? Because ultimately you guys have the keys to the castle to try and make us a good team and to try and show that you are fully committed and fully invested to making Perth Glory, quote, a powerhouse team.
It's just about, you're right. It's just about communication.
Yeah.
And there's really not a lot of that going on.
No.
Between anyone except the press conferences that you have to do as a club.
Yeah.
There is no attempt, it feels like, to actually communicate with the fans or
communicate effectively
with the fans. To even say, hey guys, I know we conceded 8 goals in the first 2 games, but here's how we're going to try and fix things. Or here's how we're going to move forward to try and make sure that this doesn't stop. Other than just, we're going to win tomorrow.
That doesn't help.
I think me and Will were actually discussing last night at the game. This is the first time we've actually gone to a game and felt like there hasn't been as much passion.
Yeah. In a long time.
It hasn't felt like we were actually at a Glory game. It just felt like we were watching a football game.
Yeah. I didn't feel like... I'm going to be honest. I don't think I've ever felt so disconnected to this.
No, I agree.
I've never felt so numb and just like, oh, another game. Let's just go and lose this one, shall we?
Because you remember those old school games with Kenny and with Popper?
I would go knowing we're going to lose, but I would have a good time.
But even still, that's what hooked me in. Yeah. Those Kenny games early. And that's when I started really getting involved to football in those early days. And you would go to the game, especially a home game, and it wouldn't be magical, but it would be like...
Place is rocking.
You'd be captivated by it, but what's happening on the pitch and what's happening off the pitch. You see quality players. You see Castro running at defenders. You see whether it be Keogh or even Taggart scoring goals and a decent backline enough. And then we had that success under Tony Popovich. But what we're seeing now, that's the thing. I saw a comment on Facebook where someone said this Glory 18-19 team would walk all over this current Glory Tide.
Oh.
They'd walk the whole league.
It's not, but in specific relation to us, we have not had a squad since Tony Popovich was our coach that reflects the city of Perth, that reflects the 100%. State of WA, because we're not seeing a return on investment. That's probably my main takeaway from all of this.
No, you go.
Can I just say, I love the idea of trying to bring back as many WA boys as possible, but I remember saying this quite a few months ago. I'm sure a lot of fans would rather that you put the Glory back in Perth Glory rather than put the Perth back in Perth Glory.
I agree.
And I discussed this multiple times with people in my fucking Discord and whatever. But WA fans are some of, and I say this with...
Careful the word.
No, hold on. I'll say this the nicest way possible. WA fans are some of the most glory hunting pricks I've ever seen. And that's me putting it nicely.
Better than last time.
But no. But you think of every single team based out of WA, every single major sporting team. The Glory. When we were big, we had 15,000 every game. We would sell our NSL games. We'd damn near sell our HBF Park for A-League games every week.
Yeah.
Perth Wildcats. When they were good, on their massive historical basketball run, you'd sell our RAC every week. Now, the Glory's doing shit, they've dropped off. Wildcats are doing shit, they've dropped off. The Perth Scorchers. It always happened every single time. When the first few home games of the season, they kill teams off the park, off the pitch, they pack out wherever they're playing. But when they do shit, no one goes to the games.
Yeah.
Perth fans have a sense of needing to feel represented by making themselves feel relevant. And it's genuinely, I feel, because Australian sport overall is so coded for eastern states. It's coded for Queensland, it's coded for your big markets in Melbourne and Sydney and whatever, right? So WA fans feel the need to be represented through success because they feel like if we aren't successful, then we're not seen.
We're just making up numbers.
Even if you sign an all WA team, if we finish bottom of the league, fans won't turn up because they're not looking at a side that does shit and says, well, we're doing shit, but I heard he grew up in the same suburb as me, so that's actually quite cool. I'm going to go watch him next week. No one fucking cares. I couldn't give a shit if Luis Kanga was birthed right next to me at the fucking hospital. I couldn't give a shit. I wouldn't go to watch Perth Glory if we were bad just because I feel a connection based on location with these players.
100%.
Look, a connection based on location goes two ways. One, you love the players that are here because you know that they've grown up in areas similar to you. They've had similar childhoods, maybe. They've had similar dreams, similar setbacks and whatever. But you need to see the success. Because what good is it seeing, I can relate to this guy because of the struggles he had in his suburb, in his club and whatever, if you then see them going and getting spanked off the park every week, all right? I want to put myself in their shoes and say, you know what? They represent me. They represent my local leagues, my club, my everything. And they've done it while putting success on the pitch, while putting a smile on my fucking face while I'm watching the crowd.
Yep.
I don't want to turn up and watch guys that I idolise get beat off the park 6-1 by a mediocre MacArthur side that just lost to the fucking Newcastle Jets, which I still believe are even worse than us. Are even
result.
Worse than us. I still believe that.
Yeah.
So, look, I understand Stan has good faith. I understand, and I genuinely believe Ross has good faith. But you need to get your priorities straight. Yes, we want to build a WA core, but you need to build success first.
You have to build a winning team.
You can't build a WA core when half the WA talents that you want to recruit aren't even there. You got Risdon, great. You got Taggart, great. You got Brandon O'Neill, great. You can't then just say, oh, okay, well then we're going to hold out and build a sort of cheaper team until we can get Alex Grant, until we can get Jack Iredale, until we can get, you know, all of these different players. It's like, well, why wait? Why wait? And if you come out and say, look, the debt's a problem, we're trying to improve the facilities, we're trying to improve a bunch of stuff, so we need to hold off this year. If you came out and said that now, or even better, at the start of the season before any of this happened, fans would turn up and support the young players, and they'd say,
they'd be on board for the project.
They'd be on board. They'd say, you know what, we may be losing, but I'm excited to see what we can build towards over the next 8 months, over the next 12 months. The fact that you've come out and said, we're getting top 6. The fact that you've come out and said, this is going to be a new club. This is going to be the best team you've ever seen in Perth. I can't get behind it because quite evidently it's not any of those things.
And because they haven't done that, we play in a salary cap league which is supposed to be an equaliser for all the teams from top to bottom. There are other teams, and Daniel McBreen made this point on the A-League off-air podcast. He said quite bluntly, in relation to investment and recruitment, he said, the owners made some bold statements about the WOW signings, and these are his words. Where the fuck are the WOW signings? Yeah. Because obviously we knew about the APL cutting funding through the TV deal, yet other clubs have invested quite clearly into the players that they've brought in, and they're having the success that they're having. You look at Auckland, they've got an owner that's fully committed, has put in a pretty good squad. Yes, obviously different circumstances and situations to us, but they're getting a lot of people through the door. Western Sydney and Sydney FC, even MacArthur, have invested in their teams, and they've got a quality side. Like the point that we made before, fans are not going to want to come out, for as much as the players may give it 100%, which I hope they do, they're not going to come out and see a team that loses every week.
Obviously, we're not as big as Sydney or Melbourne, those top clubs, and I can't expect our owner to put in the same amount of money, but I feel like it's fair for us.
Show the intent.
Why can't we have a squad like MacArthur's or Western Sydney's? I just don't understand that, because I don't think our squad on paper is the worst in the league, but it's definitely one of the cheapest.
It's cheap.
See, here's the thing, is that, look, under MacArthur...
Fuck.
Jesus Lord. Jesus Lord. The thing that frustrated me the most, especially, you made a really good point about that MacArthur comparison, because I even thought last season, like, look, no owners, so I'd understand if we can't build anything, or if we can't get close to these teams that have laid the foundation since we haven't had owners. You look at MacArthur, the offseason they had. Re-signed Danny De Silva after there was a very good chance that we could have bought him back. Chris Economides signed him after there was a chance that we could have bought him back. Yarkalish is probably going to go down as one of the best signings across any A-League club this season. I'm predicting him to be the next Socceroo that gets called up. We had an opportunity to sign him.
Bratton.
And it goes... Bratton.
And
Falami.
They've got their balance right.
That centre-back,
But that's the thing. They've got their balance right in terms of squad composition.
We looked at the start of the season at the Australian talent pool. There were so many quality, experienced players that we could have picked up that we just didn't. And it's frustrating to me, because I can't even say, oh, well, the opportunity wasn't there for signings, because it was there, and we ignored it, and we tried a different method. And look, if we try a different method and it doesn't work, that's fine. But you can't tell me that you're going to try a different method and tell me that we're going to get results when you're not sure of it. Don't give us guarantees, because you're only going to upset us if it doesn't. You only gain to upset us, because if you give us a guarantee that we'll make finals, then we expect it.
When we make finals,
we're not going to jump up and down saying, yes, what a miracle, we've done it. We'll say, yeah, you told us you were going to make it. Now what?
Yeah.
If we don't make finals, we say, well, what the hell? You told us you were going to make finals. You didn't make finals. Now, do more. You've shot yourselves in the foot. And I feel bad for you, lads. I honestly feel bad for you because I want you to succeed. Yeah. And I do think that you have the best intentions for our club and for, Catania and all your other projects, despite the problems that you've obviously had. But lads, we just need more communication.
Have
we need better wording.
We'd be more than happy. The club will have our details. We'd be more than happy to have a sit down with you guys, or any fan. Have a sit down conversation with the fans. Show us what your vision is. Show us what your project is, and be clear and effective with your communication.
Contact us on Twitter or on the Gmail account below. James will edit it in right here.
Again, just have that conversation with us, and I think that will help a lot of fans out. I know we're conscious of time, so we may as well preview Mariners away next week.
Am I able to say one more thing quickly about this?
Very quickly.
Very quickly. I think I said it to Josh last night. The biggest word that I have to describe this is identity.
Yep.
Or lack thereof.
Yep.
Under Sage, sure, it wasn't perfect all the time, but we had some kind of identity. Whereas the West versus rest, all that kind of thing. We had
Sage mentality.
We had something to say. This is what we were about, and similar to what you just said. We're watching a football club. We're not watching Perth Glory. It doesn't feel like we're watching, but we're watching a football team, and it just doesn't.
They're wearing the jerseys, but they don't represent.
Correct.
What we want.
I don't feel like there's any kind of vision or future with this. It's just we're watching football.
Yeah. You know what it feels like? It feels like I'm genuinely turning up to a game as a neutral.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. Like I remember last year in Unite round, it was my first ever time going to an A-League game as a neutral fan, was watching Newcastle versus Western United. I genuinely had more excitement watching Daniel Pena put 7 Jets players on their arse than I did watching any moment of that Glory game last night.
Yeah.
And I was in the Bay where they were providing really good atmosphere. There was a really solid pre-game build-up. Everything was good. And then the first whistle blew and it was dead. It was done.
So Mariners.
Yes, Mariners.
As a quick score prediction and just quick sentence thought, what do we think?
2-1 win for the Glory.
Will?
3-0 Mariners.
Josh?
4-1 Mariners.
Yep. I want to be positive, but I can't really see it. And I hope you boys somehow prove us wrong. After the second time now, we're going to be asking for a response.
Yep.
2-0 Mariners.
Yep.
I hope we're proven wrong.
I don't think we score. I think we can see it at least 2. That's,
I'm biased, so...
Are you?
I think it's more important... Well, I'm not going to say more important, but there is one more thing we have to address, unfortunately. Now, I will address this alone because I'm the only person that sort of was there to experience this. So I'm going to leave out names that we do have for the sake of not...
there's a lot more
anyone.
to the issue.
Yes,
yeah,
but I will give a brief overview of it and why I feel it's important to mention it. Now, I've been asked to mention... Now, I originally wasn't going to mention this, but I've been asked by members of both the Bay and the Shed. More importantly, I've been asked by members of the Shed to address this because it is a problem that we both agree on. And first, I want to shout out Jay for reaching out and supporting Finn and the rest of the lads in the Bay. Through all the stuff that happened with the incident. Yep. They really appreciated that message, mate. So thank you to reaching out to me, especially, even though we've had our, disagreements in the past.
Glory fans at the end of the day.
Yeah, 100%.
There was an incident, unfortunately, at the game where 2 members of the Shed, once again, we have their names, and there has been an incident report filed. 2 members of the Shed were intoxicated. They were drunk. And were let down into the Bay area. Now, I wouldn't be upset with the fact that they were let down if they weren't putting wristbands on every single kid that went into the Bay to keep track of them, and then let these 2 adult males go down without wristbands. Now, the problem arose when these 2 guys stepped in front of the Bay banner in order to talk with
the leader?
With the leader of the Bay.
Yep.
Now... One of the members, I was told, started putting blame onto this member of onto the leader of the Bay for a bunch of stuff that had happened in the past. I've been told this by several people, and also I was standing right next to him, so I know it for a fact. So you can believe me if you want, but I'm telling you what I know.
Yep.
Then the second member, who was a taller gentleman, then screamed in the face of our drummer to hit the drums harder. Sorry, hit the effing drums harder. You're not hitting them hard enough. The drummer then, getting concerned that someone was yelling in their face and very clearly intoxicated, then handed me the drumsticks asking if I could play the drum. I then stepped in between him and the man and held the drumsticks on my left-hand side so that he couldn't get the drumsticks because I was worried that he was going to do some stupid shit. He then reaches over and starts pounding on the drum with his fist, to which I say, don't pound the drum with your hand, take the drumsticks. I then hand him the drumsticks, to which he grabs one and smashes it on the corner of the drum, and the drumstick breaks. It snaps. So there was destruction of property there. Now, I'm more concerned with the fact that this man then turned around and screamed at a group of 13 to 14-year-old kids, and we know this for a fact because, you know, the Bay is very tightly knit. They know most of their members.
Young group.
13 to 14-year-old kids saying, cheer louder, and then turning back to this leader of the Bay saying, if they're not going to effing cheer louder, tell them to get the F out because it's not good enough. So already these guys have come down here intoxicated and trying to intimidate kids. And I just want to point this out. This is not me saying the shed was bad. The TIFO last night was fantastic.
Fantastic.
Fantastic stuff. The joint chants between the Bay and the Shed is something that we've been wanting for years at this club after problems with, you know, not having
enough numbers,
or not having enough cohesion. Cohesion.
Both sides could have very easily not gone to the game as well after last week's performance.
Exactly. So fantastic. Big ups to everyone from the Shed and the Bay. Yeah. The problem for me is that HBF Park Security allowed this to happen after they destroyed the drumstick. I don't know if they did it on purpose or not. Obviously, I haven't spoken to these individuals. I then went over to a security guard. I said, listen, there's two gentlemen in the Bay. They're intoxicated and they're making a number of the boys uncomfortable, and they've destroyed one of the drumsticks and nearly destroyed the drum. Can you please remove them? The security guard then went over, talked to one of the men who broke the drumstick and nearly broke the drum, talked to him for about 30 seconds, turned around, walked away, and stood back in his original position. They remained in the Shed for a total of 15 minutes and then continued to talk to the leader of the Shed after the game, to which I decided to lie and say that they were told that they had to leave quickly, as in the Bay leader had to leave so that they had to, you know, get out of there. Obviously, they didn't. I did that to get them away from the situation.
Yeah.
But I don't want to put this on saying, oh, the Shed is this, the Shed is that. Because, look, people know I've had problems with members of the Shed. And I've received a lot of... the lads in the Bay that experienced this have received a lot of support from members of the Shed.
Which is good.
One of which is Liam. I want to give a massive thank you to you for reaching out. The boys really appreciated your support. And like I said, Jay as well. The boys really appreciated your support as well. There are good members on both sides. Yeah. In fact, I'd like to say that 95% of the Shed is filled with good people.
100%.
95% of the Bay is filled with good people. Obviously, you still have those twats
that
throw water bottles around and do dumb shit. Yeah. But look, my problem is with HBF security.
Yeah.
You've been told that there was animosity between the two groups beforehand, which is why you had to do the armbands for everyone going into the Bay. Great initiative. Love it. The fact that you then allowed two men to walk down there, obviously intoxicated, allowed them to destroy property without removing them, and then allowed them to leave without questioning. We then had to go up and file the incident report with two of the leading members of HBF Park Security, one of which said that the man who broke the drumstick had caused previous issues earlier in the evening due to him being intoxicated and was told to leave the Shed. So, look, I'm not putting this on anyone. I'm not trying to demonize the Shed or the Bay or say that this is anyone's fault. I'm just putting it on Perth Glory saying, look, guys, you're going to a football game. I understand if you aren't happy with how loud the Bay are, if you want them to be louder, if you want them to do something different. It doesn't give you the right to go down there, yell at a group of kids who are trying to make active support a thing at the club, and then destroy their property and walk off and say that, sorry, we'll sort that out later.
Yeah.
You can't do that. It's not on. You guys are in your early to mid-30s, so honestly, grow the fuck up. And I'm only talking to the two people that were down there, by the way. The rest of the lads from the Shed, I've had nothing but respect from. Towards me in regards to the situation, and towards the boys in the Bay in regards to the situation. The two guys that were down there, you know who you are, grow the fuck up because it's not good enough.
The only thing I'll say to end the matter is that there are young families, there are kids that want to support the club, that want to be involved with the club, and if anyone is wanting to make an unsafe or intimidating environment, it's not good enough. There's no place for it at the games.
Yep.
You're more than capable of supporting your team. You're more than capable of creating an atmosphere. There's a separate incident that I was made aware of that also wasn't good enough in terms of fan behaviour. But at the end of the day, yes, the club is going through a shit period, but you're there to support the team.
Yep.
Everyone that's at the ground is there to support the team. If there's a need to intimidate or make uncomfortable other fans, then you shouldn't be going to the game. It's as simple as that.
100%.
There are good people, as Alex said, in the Shed and in the Bay. Their job is to create atmosphere. I'm not in the shed, but I love listening to both of their atmosphere. I think it's fantastic.
Yes.
Stick to that. That's what you're good at doing. That's what the club needs you for. We can say the players were crap. That's fine. But to the point where if you're wanting to intimidate other people that are at the game, there's no place for that. At any football club, not just Perth Glory, but across the A-League, it's not necessary.
Yep, 100%.
So we'll probably wrap it up there. If there's any thoughts that you guys have, that we've covered, it's all good. No, I won't touch that. If there's any thoughts that you guys have, let us know in the comments below. We had quite a fair amount of thoughts from the fans, either via the comments or in private messages after the rant last week was released. We were a little bit more toned down this time. But leave your thoughts. We want to hear from you. What should the club do from here? What should the owner do? What should Stan do? What should Zrilla do? What should the players do? How do we fix this season? How do we get back to being the best team in the league?
I'm suggesting Bunnings sausage sizzle to raise money to pay Taggart's next 3 years.
I really hope that next podcast is different.
I really hope so too. In an ideal world, we're coming to you next week after a 7-0 win against the Mariners, telling you that David's tricky purples are winning the whole fucking thing. But, yeah. All right, lads. Thank you all so much for joining us for episode 12 of the Shed End Podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure. We'll catch you all next weekend or next week early in the week, whenever we upload the episode. But thank you all so much for your support. And make sure to stay safe out there. Keep supporting the club. We all love anyone who loves the club just as much as us. But massive thank you to absolutely everyone out there. And better performance next week, boys. We're expecting it from you. So thank you.
Thanks, guys.